Kylee J. Marshall. She's a Colorado writer and recovering perfectionist. She holds a BA and master's in English and education and has spoken at the nation's capital as well as many other workshops and forums. She was an educator for 17 years before changing into real estate administration. Of Dirt and Wildflowers is her first published book, and it's set to release on June 10th. So thank you so much, Kylee, and over to you.
Awesome.
You're all set.
Okay, perfect. All right. So as Amanda said, I am not quite published. So we are about 1 month out from myself being published, but I want to preface this conversation with saying I'm obviously not an expert, but I am a learner and I believe in a growth mindset, and that is a way to be successful and to lead to joy. So I will preface that with this. I want to thank you all for being here though as well, because I know that we're talking about self-promotion and maybe that fatigue that goes with that and where are the next steps. But I feel like you being here today is part of that first mindset shift. So I think that that's really important. And although I'm not an expert in this, I do feel like I bring 3 buckets of life with me. Obviously, I am an author, and so that I can relate to you in the writing sense of the world. But I also was an educator for 17 years and have my master's degree in brain development. And a big part of that, my thesis was actually on growth mindset. And so I'm bringing that piece with me. And then I am in real estate administration and I am in charge of our marketing. So I spend a great deal of my time understanding the marketing world and reaching your clients that way. As creative minds, as authors, by nature, most of us are more toward the introverted side. And so the idea of marketing and self-promotion feels extremely awkward. It seems extremely foreign. And we like to write. We don't necessarily like to talk about ourselves. And so it can be really outside of our comfort zone. I actually saw a quote this morning that said, if growth is inevitable or if growth is never ending, then discomfort also has to be. And so I thought that that was really timely for today, that if we want to keep growing, we actually have to get outside of our comfort zone. And so figuring out ways to shift our mindset to talk about ourselves, which I'm going to tell you is not actually what you're going to be doing, but to talk about our message is super important. Another thing that we also struggle with is the idea of commerce and feeling sort of like a salesman and asking for money. And I want to show you today that with a mindset shift, there is really a bridge from your art and your passion to your position in your community. And it doesn't have to be about money, but there is an end result that serves you as it does serve others. On your screen are some of the common hurdles that we see a lot, and that I know I have felt as well, and I am sure that most of you have felt these because you're here. One of them is that we dislike the spotlight. We feel selfish or conceited, egotistical, narcissistic. We might fall into the bucket of imposter syndrome, which is really just sort of this insecurity, and we feel like a fraud. And why would people want to believe us? And how did we get here? And are we really the authority on what it is that we're speaking about, writing about? The other one is that we feel like we're in a salesman scheme, and that we, are asking for something and we're not giving something in return. And so we feel like we're almost scheming or scamming people, when really that's not the truth, but it's part of our mindset. And that's one of the hurdles that we are going to talk about and overcoming today. Another one is that we are unsure of our message. It could be a lack of self-confidence again, or we're not confident in our message and we're unsure of really what it is that we're trying to share. A disconnect to audience, in that we don't always know who wants to hear this, who would want to read this, who needs this. And so understanding our audience can be a big hurdle. There is what I'm calling the algorithm overwhelm, in that there's so many options out there. Are you going to be on Facebook? Are you going to be on Instagram? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you going to do mail outs? Are you doing newsletters? Are you doing blogs? Are you doing, weekly emails? There's so many things. And then people tell you, well, yeah, but you should post on Wednesdays between 12 and 3 if you're going to do it. And you're like, okay, well, I'm busy, so I guess I won't be doing that. And so there's just this algorithm overwhelm of when and why and where we should be marketing and promoting. And then again, kind of in that same bucket is resource overload. You can lose yourself in marketing, and you can lose your message in marketing because you get so wrapped up in trying to put everything out there and put it on all the resources and giving people everything. And we just sort of start swimming in that. So the first step is identifying what success looks like for you. And it's really shifting your mindset to understand where your current thoughts are held, where are they anchored, where are they rooted. And by understanding that, it helps you figure out kind of your placement and how you're going to grow from that position. So my assumption, which I know we should never assume, but my assumption is that if you're looking at these, you don't fall in just one of them. You can kind of see yourself sort of tentacled in maybe all three of them. So the first one for success is, for many authors, is that we just enjoy the craft of writing. And I think that that's probably true for all of us in some way. Otherwise, we wouldn't have done it. I would say very few of us are completely all in that bucket. And if you are, then you're probably not here because you're not trying to promote yourself. You're just like, yeah, I enjoyed writing it, and that was it. I typed the end, and whatever happened, happened, and I'm fine with that. I feel like we're all in that bucket, but we're not all in that bucket. And the second piece would be that you want to sell books and you want to create fans and you want people to fall in love with your characters. You want people to fall in love with you. You want people to, continue to follow you. And I feel like we are all part in that bucket as well, or else we wouldn't be here because we obviously want to recoup whatever money we've put into publishing a book. And we want to, spread the message out by creating fans. And then the third bucket would be that you are passionate about your message and you feel like what you have written has purpose and has a place in the world. And your book is one of the vessels to get that message out. And so as you're thinking about those, I just want you to take a minute and think about, where do you feel like the majority of you falls? Is it in the craft? Is it in selling books and creating fans? Or is it your book being a vessel? And it doesn't matter really where you fall in that. You just kind of need to know in order to make this mindset shift, because if you don't know where you're anchored, you really can't grow from there because you're just kind of floating around. And when we're unsure of where we stand nowhere. So just take a moment to really think about where you are in terms of what success looks like for you. Amanda shared this statistic information earlier this week, I think it was, which was really timely. And I snuck it into this presentation because we were talking about success. And I was like, oh my God, I had no idea. So the big news flash is that you already are successful. 15% of writers have started their manuscript, which is a very small percentage. 6% have written half. 1 in 200 complete their manuscript, and only 1% go on to get published. So being in the top percent of anything is extremely unique, is extremely powerful. And I think that we need to accept that and own that and wear that as part of this mindset shift, is that we already are successful. Now, of that 1%, how many actually follow through with marketing and self-promotion to share their message? You obviously thought it was important enough to be in the top 1%. Take that extra step to push forward to get your message out of there. A second element, besides knowing what success looks like, is identifying your desired outcome, vision, and goal, right? So it's a little bit separate than success, because success is sort of the reason that we started and kind of where it took us. And then the second element is really identifying where we define that success. Is it numbers or is it impact? So the first group would be numbers. You define your success, your goals based on your book sales, how many reviews you get, how many likes or shares. And there's other numbers that go in there, but those are kind of the big ones. And then impact would be you notice or can feel that you are impacting others. So you're inspiring people, you're motivating people, you're connecting with people, and you're supporting a need. Again, there's more in that bucket as well, but those are kind of the main two. Again, identifying your success and then how do you know you've achieved it are super important parts to understand where you're anchored so that we can move forward from there. Again, probably see yourself in both. Like, yeah, I would like to sell some books. I would like to get reviews. I would like for people to like what I'm doing. But I also want to impact and motivate people, which then puts you kind of in this third group, which is creating a community. Because if you combine numbers with impact, that is a community. And that's really what we're talking about today, is this mindset shift of it's not all about the numbers and it's not all about the impact. When you combine the two and you're impacting a number of people because they're buying your book, they're buying your product, they're buying your message, you are creating change. And so we're fostering growth, happiness, and prosperity, which is what a community mission is to do. So I came up with this idea of ripples when Amanda and I were talking about promotion and marketing, because again, I am not published yet, but I have been very excited about this idea because I do feel like I have a message I want to share. And I've seen this ripple effect in the last, I don't know, 8-9 months, I guess, from when it started. So part of this shift is understanding that creating a community is more about giving than it is getting, right? So there's that first shift, but also that ripples expand out and then they recess back in. They start with you, they go out to a group, they expand, and eventually they come back in, they recess back into you, and you get filled again. You get new ideas, you get motivated, you continue your mission and your process because it is rippling in and out. I have an example of this, and Amanda was actually a part of this. So I, as a side part of my book, have been leading workshops, and one of them is a talk called the Bathtub Talk. It is based off of elements out of my book. It's an inspiring, empowering talk, and that one of the Zooms that I had 3 people on it, and I was kind of like, is this a waste of time? Because, you know, we all are busy and maybe I shouldn't do that. And so again, my mindset was like, imposter, I don't know. This is kind of silly to be wasting everybody's time for only 3 of us to be there. One of the women who found me on Facebook, didn't know me. She, I think, lives in Kansas. At the end of the talk, she was like, we need to talk because I have this group that I'm a part of that is this group of women that are all gathered, a community that are all gathered together based on their need for postpartum support. Completely not in my shoulder community, my ripple. You know, I have kids graduating high school. So for women needing something about postpartum, it didn't even register to me that this would be a group of women that I could be supportive to. But I met one in that group who introduced me to a group of 250. And so I was able to have a huge ripple effect. And then that ripple effect has receded back in to where I'm doing another talk this next week with a smaller group of them, with about 12 or 16 of them, doing a different talk, and we're going to delve in a little bit deeper. So again, that ripple effect, you don't even know who you're touching, but it's community. Numbers and impact equal a community. And you have to shift your mind around that of who can I serve? Who can I help? And it just moves and it ebbs and flows. One of the things that Amanda and I wanted to make sure we touched on today was that some of you are fiction writers and some of you are nonfiction writers. And I'm nonfiction. I wrote a memoir. I was a teacher for 17 years. And so I spent a great deal of time picking curriculum for fiction for my 7th graders and my high schoolers. And so I just wanted to reiterate that this really isn't a fiction or a nonfiction talk. This is really for entrepreneurs. This is for anybody who is sharing something. And so whether it's fiction or nonfiction, this is applicable, and you can shift your mindset around how to market and self-promote. For fiction, I think back to when I was a teacher, and it was super important that we chose characters and worlds, storylines, themes that students could relate to, like, and learn from. And so when you're thinking about, well, I don't know how to share my message because I wrote about, this fictional character who's a ladybug. Is it likable, relatable? Does it have a message to share? Does it serve a need? Yes, it does, obviously. You're published 1%. You didn't write something that didn't have a meaning. And again, you have to shift your mindset to say, yes, I have this character who can serve. Nonfiction, it's a little bit easier to identify because you are offering a service or a product. You have a message that you're, sharing, inspiring with. I use this term carrying buckets because my story is a lot about being in some dark places in my life and how I overcame those. And there was this quote when I was in one of those really dark periods about how the people who walk through the fire or walk out of the fire carrying buckets for the people who are still in it are really the messengers of the world, and how those people who have went through something and then can offer help for those that are still in it is extremely powerful. So again, just emphasizing that this isn't a fiction, nonfiction kind of talk. This is a mindset shift for you and what you've already done. People can't read a book they don't know if they don't know it exists. They also aren't going to talk about your book if you're not talking about your book. Why would they, right? How can it come up in conversation? And it is your job, your point in getting your message out, to make sure that you're talking about it. And there's lots of ways that you can talk about it, but it is super important that you are part of that, because again, you're in the 1%, but if you're not talking about it, nobody even knows. So I did just this super quick little giveaway this week, which has been, again, a nice ripple effect. So I had some books, and I was like, they were my advanced reader copies, and I just had a couple extra. And so I just did a thing on my 1 month countdown, and I said, I'm going to give away an ARC. Cost me what, $4? And I said, all you have to do is share this post and tag a friend. So again, that ripple effect. People that weren't in my community are now brought in my community. But it was interesting when they were tagging people, they would tag them and say, this is the book I was telling you about, or this is the book about blank that we were talking about the other day. So people are talking about it because I'm talking about it, and I'm sharing quotes from the book, and I'm sharing messages from the book. They're talking about it because I'm talking about it. So in true educator fashion, I came up with an acronym for ripples, because everything deserves a good acronym or analogy in all teaching. So ripples: refine your message, identify your impact, purposeful marketing, pride and promotion, learn your style, execute with excitement, and shift your mindset. So the first R on there, refining your message. Part of shifting your mindset is regrounding, reminding yourself why you wrote in the first place, why you're in the top 1%. How did it help you? How did it help others? How did you intend for it to help others? How does it serve others? And how does it transform your circle or community? How can it touch or impact? How can it inspire? How can it help? How can it serve? We write the book that we need. Why would other people need it? There is a reason, because we're not just the Lone Ranger out here, right? We are part of the human experience. And so everything that we need, somebody else needs too. And so again, sometimes it just requires us going back in and asking ourselves these questions. Why did I need this book? Why did I write it? Because if you needed it, somebody else does. And we just have to remind ourselves of that. And that's a super important shift right at the beginning, is to understand that your message is important enough for you to be in the top 1%. So continue to share it, but maybe take some time to go back and really think about why it was important to you. Because if you understand that, again, you're grounded in that. If we're unsure, then we're unsure, and people aren't going to believe us. So believability comes in refining and being certain. This just goes with that message, really, but I just thought that this quote was a good one in relation to this. But marketing and promotion is not some big, crazy act, right? It's small and it's intentional. It's ripples that grow and expand over time and space. So to think that you have to do big, big things is not true. It's small, intentional steps that help share your message, help share your characters, help share your storylines. I'll just leave that up so you can read it. I know I may be talking fast, but I'm just trying to preserve our time for the end for questions. So for identify your impact. To continue shifting your mindset, you can examine your current impact in comparison to your potential impact. So for your current impact, with your current mindset, your current resources, current confidence, and current knowledge, who are you already impacting besides yourself? And I just want you to think about that for a minute. Who are you already impacting? And I'm not saying this in a way to say you're not doing enough. I'm actually asking you to be very self-reflective and say, with what I have and what I'm doing right now, current mindset, current resources, current confidence, current knowledge, who am I impacting? Who do I know that I am impacting? And I think it should be more of a celebration, a victory of like, yeah, I'm already impacting some people. And that's part of that shift, to not say, well, I'm not doing enough. No, you are. You're published. You're good. You've already had impact. What is it? And then think about, without constraints. So whether that's money or time, which are the big two, fears and reservations and hesitations, which is the other big one. Without those, who do you think you could impact? What does that look like? If money, time, and your fear weren't part of the equation, who do you think you could impact? And think big, think super big. Because part of the shift is thinking very, very big. We think big and we take small steps to get there. Purposeful marketing would be the next letter in the acronym. And I just put up these words because when I think about purposeful marketing, these are really, I think, sort of the constraints that you need to think within, or how you need to process that marketing needs to be intentional, direct, who are you putting this toward, specific, sincere, timely and mindful, meaning timely in terms of when you actually put it out there. If you're putting it out there, if it's something that has to do, I mean, this is random, but like if it was something that related to summer and you put it out in winter, that's not very timely, right? So being very purposeful with your marketing, but being also very mindful of people's time. So people only have a small amount of time. That's why I'm saying small steps. Don't do big things that are going to take more of your time and other people's time. So, for example, I was calling them fireside chats, and some of them were extremely long. And by extremely, I mean like 30 minutes, which is a long time to be on camera. And I would get people that would watch those, but that's a commitment that people have to make to really watch those. And of course, yes, they have impact. But when I do a 3 to 5 minute video, I have a larger impact, right? Because I get more numbers, more people are interested in a shorter message. So it's really important when you're marketing to think about other people's time. It needs to be accessible. It needs to be easy. They can watch it on their phone. They can see it on their phone. They can see it on their home computer. However it needs to be, it's easy for them. If things are difficult, people don't have time. So again, part of your purposeful marketing is making sure that it's accessible, shareable, and that it's important. The mindset of just throw it all at the wall and see what sticks is not really going to work here, because it's going to lead you to exhaustion, frustration, burnout, and doubt, which is where I know a lot of people already are. I was in another group earlier this week, and that's exactly what we were talking about, is what all do I do? Because not everything is working. Not everything should work, right? Growth and positive mindset is being purposeful and intentional. So we don't want to message bomb people. I almost think of it as like message balloons, like here's this, and you can hand it off, right? They're these floating things that stay around instead of bombing people. And they're like, oh God, that was too much, right? And it's too much for you and it's too much for them. The surest way to promote yourself is to help others get ahead. And so this is an important part of this mindset shift, because with everything you share, every piece of information, characters, themes, storylines, quotes, whatever it is from your book, from you, shift your thinking from the fact that you are talking about yourself to the belief that you are serving others. You're not talking about yourself. You needed this book. Why do they need it? It already served you. You're not talking about you. You're talking about how it will help them. Which leads into pride in promotion. There's 2 different conversations that you have to have with yourself. And this, again, is that mindset. Part of mindset is creating your own narrative. It's self-talk. How often do we talk to ourselves, especially as writers? I know that I am in a constant conversation with myself, and I actually have to apologize to my coworkers because I don't realize that I'm talking to myself out loud. And I wonder what they are thinking half of the time, because I am talking to myself all of the time. But I need to be very conscious of what I'm saying to myself, because sometimes I'm not very nice to myself. And I know that we are all in that same boat. And so when we're having these conversations with ourselves, there's 2 conversations. There's your conversation with yourself, silence your critic, applaud the success you've already had. Again, you're in the 1%. You already have impact. You're an author, for God's sake. Like, not many people can say that. And applaud your strengths. You have them, but we have to talk ourselves through those, not just focus on all the things that we're doing wrong and we're not doing good enough and we're not doing enough of. So part of that confidence talk is to literally have conversations with yourself about your strengths and about your successes. And then the other one is that you have to have confidence in your message. And so the other talk that you have to have with yourself is about your messaging. I was in a course last September, and she said, your purpose is worth a no. I was like, what does that mean? She was like, whatever it is that you want to share, it's worth hearing no. And you keep going. If it wasn't worth it, then you wouldn't have published it. We were all going to be told no. We're not everybody's cup of tea. Not everyone has time for us. And that's not who we're impacting. There are people who need us. And so if we hear no, if we don't get, the likes or the shares or the buys or the purchases or whatever, understand that it's okay. We're going to shift and we're going to keep moving, because that's a growth mindset. It's worth hearing no. We're not going to always hear no, but it's worth hearing no. Remind yourself that you are giving something. What you get in return could be money, could be more likes and followers that are going to lead to your bigger community that you will then serve and whatever. But think about it as that you are giving versus getting. And this is beyond you. Your message is beyond you. It's beyond what you needed, and now other people need it as well. The L is learn your style. So a mindset shift from here is that there is thinking that there's only one right way to market, and promote. A lot of times people are like, well, I guess I just can't do this because I don't do Facebook, or I don't do Instagram, or I refuse to be on social media. That's okay. Those probably aren't your people then anyway. So that's okay. You don't have to be where everyone else is. You have a message and you have a community. Maybe you haven't found them yet, or maybe you have and you just need to spend your time with them. So there's lots of ways. So the mindset shift is there's one right way to do this. 2, there's a style of marketing that works well for me, my personality, my strengths, and my community. Figure out what that is. Experiment. Stretch yourself. Try something small. Don't try to do them all. Try one and be like, it didn't work. Or, whoa, I found my peeps. This is where they've been hiding, right? And there's lots of ways that you can do that. So some of the examples on here are content marketing. So this would be blogging, creating more content. I've had a lot of success with this one, and I feel like it serves me well because I go back to that vision of success. Part of where I would put a big part of myself is that I love the craft of writing. Well, I've written this book. I don't really want to write another book right now because I'm trying to get this one out, but I still love the craft and I still want to build community around that. And so content marketing has kind of become my niche, and I'm really loving it. When I love something, I do better at it. I'm, more intentional with it. And so that's kind of where I'm putting my time right now, is in content marketing. That seems to be really working for me. Social media marketing, again, that can be the Facebook, Instagrams, LinkedIn's. Influencer marketing, this would be getting people to help you promote, people who have bigger names than you, who are in a field maybe as an expert. They could market with you and for you. Search engine, the Googles of the world. Email marketing, content and email marketing sometimes go together, but they can also be separate. Networking, this is something I'm doing right now as well, doing a lot of in-person networking. So I've joined a lot of different groups around my town, and I'm going and I'm meeting communities that are already formed, and I'm seeing if I have a place within them. Do I have something to offer this group of women? Do I have something to offer this group of people? And some of them are bigger groups and some of them are smaller groups. And what I'm finding is that, yes, I do. And I'm able to hand out my information, and my community is building within these small groups. And so networking is an area that's really also working for me right now. Print marketing, obviously magazines and all of that. Direct mail, I did just do some postcards for my book launch, and that's actually been, I wasn't really sure, and it didn't really cost me that much money. I was able to make like 125 postcards for about $30. Postage was another 30. And I've gotten a lot of people that have gotten them in the mail, and they've taken pictures and they're like, I got it on my calendar. And so I don't know if they had it on their calendar already from Facebook and all the other places I've posted it, but getting it in the mail, they've stuck it on their fridge or whatever. And so those are other ways, that I maybe thought were outdated and weren't important anymore. And I'm finding that I'm reaching communities that way. Television and radio, and then podcast marketing is another big one that is sort of up and coming. Working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something we love is called passion. And I think that's a really important mindset shift. If you're doing something you don't like to do, if you're like, I hate posting on Facebook, then stop doing it, because you're not selling your message by doing something that you don't like. Your heart isn't in it, and people can read you out. They'll know. If you're doing something you love, if you're marketing in a way that honors you, people are going to catch on to that, right? That's contagious, and that's passion, and people want more of that. People gravitate toward positivity and passion. So whatever you send out there, make sure you're doing it from a place of love and passion. E, execute with excitement, which is what I was just saying. I read a quote when I was actually at my doctor this week, and I was walking into the doctor's office, and there was this big billboard or sign, and it said, "You are responsible for the energy you bring into this space." And I was like, well, I don't know what kind of energy people have been bringing into the gynecologist office, but I'm glad that we're talking about it. So you are responsible for the energy you bring into this space. You're also responsible for whatever energy you put out there. And so again, if you're doing something you don't love, if you're doing it because you think you need to, that's a victim word. You don't need to do anything. You do it because you want to. Right? So that shift, I want to do this. I want to reach these people. And so make sure that when you execute with excitement, it's empowering, it exudes confidence, it's mindful, optimistic, genuine, positive, caring, supportive, and encouraging. And then the S. So this final shift, again, kind of goes back to that self-talk that you have to have. A fixed mindset, and here's just some examples, but a fixed mindset would say, I am not good at self-promotion. I'm just not good at it. I'm an author, I'm an introvert, and we can come up with 100,000 million reasons why we're not good at something. A growth mindset will say, I can learn an area of self-promotion. I can learn an area. I can get really good at something in self-promotion. Not maybe all of it, because not all of it is for me. But I can learn an area. I can become an expert in an area. I can thrive in an area. I can build a community within this. A fixed mindset would say, being told no feels like failure. Growth mindset would say, feedback helps me grow. When I was doing the fireside chats, the 30 minutes, and I was only getting at one point I only had one person pop on, and I was like, oh God, this is not good. And I had already built my fire, and I had to roll with it, and I was sweating. It was not great. And then so I was like, okay, I don't think people have time for this. So yeah, I did feel like a failure that day. But then I did a 4-minute one, and I had 455 watches. So I was like, oh, okay, I've learned. Fixed mindset would say that marketing is intimidating. Growth mindset would say marketing is challenging, but I have skills that I can utilize. Everybody that is here today has skills. You can all write, so use that. You have a skill. There are so many people that are in marketing who cannot do what we can do. So think about the fact that, yes, it's challenging, but we have an amazing skill set that not very many people have. And then the last one, fixed mindset would say, I'm too shy and reserved to self-promote. Growth would say, I can start small and let the ripples carry and expand. I can do one small thing. I can start somewhere. I can try something. I can give it some time. And if it doesn't work, I will grow from that. I will learn. I'll take that feedback, but starting small. There's just an emphasis on that. People will buy in. They'll buy when they know that you're familiar, when you've built a rapport with them, when they're seeking you out because everything you have put out there has been positive and energetic, and they can see a need for it. So do it small and do it often, right? Not necessarily every day, but you're doing something every day. And just when people get that repetition and you become familiar, they become attached to you, and that's how you build your community. So wrapping up really quickly, if you want to get in touch or you just want to talk further, I do have my email on there. It's kyliejeanmarshall@gmail.com. And then I also have a website, which might just be an easier way to get a hold of me. So that's kyliemarshall.com. And then also on there, I have some of the other workshops that I lead and host. And so if you were like, oh, this was good, I'd like more, I do have some other talks that I do. And then just a shameless plug, because if I'm not talking about my book, you guys don't even know about it. So Of Dirt and Wildflowers comes out on June 10th, and it is a memoir of my life on growing the courage to bloom. So my shameless plug. I'm not even shamed by it. Okay, how did I do, Amanda?
That was so awesome. I'm actually asked to can we unshare and just kind of come back as a group? So I love
Yes.
the spaces. And that was just so wonderful. I took a lot of notes myself. I love that. Don't message bomb, message balloon. Kylee quote. Oh, let me see.
Kylieisms.
Yeah, so feel free, guys, just take yourself off mute if you want to jump in, have a question. If you have, if you're like, this is what I'm going through, help me apply what I just learned. Let's chat.
I just really appreciate the honesty in saying this is trial and error from my experiences, and you don't have to do it all. Take little bits at a time, and do what feels authentic, because a lot of what you've said, I have been very reluctant to do because it didn't feel authentic. Amanda will definitely attest to a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I just appreciate you saying, look, I'm just like you. I'm learning this as I go along too, and yet I'm confident enough to share what I know with other people. So thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what Christy says, Christy's a seasoned author now, and so she's on that. Right when I asked about the marathon, she's down the road. Like she's been, she's gotten yeses, she's gotten no's, and so if you're just starting out, I don't know where everyone's at, but it's inevitable. You're gonna get no's, and you're gonna get the bad days, and it's really like how many times are you gonna get back up? Not to be corny, but it really is just like life, And so marketing does have that sucky part of it. But again, we do need to, I think so much of it does come back to the mindset shift. I wanted to ask Kirsten from the fiction end, what do you think about this? And do you think it's applicable to fiction?
No, absolutely. I think some of the questions can be a little challenging to think about, like, who are you serving or what kind of message you're trying to get out? But I think they do apply to fiction still. It's just a little more abstract. Like you're like, oh, like I'm trying to create empathy, or I'm trying to create like, more awareness of this issue that's in my fiction. It's like a little bit less straightforward, but I think it's awesome. And, I loved the idea of like, if it's not authentic and it's not how you want to market, don't do it. Like that's fabulous advice. And also the energy that you give out is the energy that is going to cause those ripples, whether it's a good ripple or a bad ripple, which I like a lot. So very helpful. I'd love to have you talk to my fiction mastermind sometime.
Awesome.
Who else?
I can talk. I was just going to say it's a very humbling process, and yeah, I've had days where I've grieved, and I think that's okay, because the only way you can move forward is to grieve and let go of the failures, and then pick up your bootstraps and move on. But I thought it was very positive. It's a very very positive, Kylee. You did really nice. It's very positive. It's good news. I should have listened to you last Friday when I cried my eyes out, when I looked at the numbers and I was like, all of that for nothing. Like, you know, all of that just to sell 8 books. Oh my God.
Yeah. But then again, you do have to just think about that a ripple starts out small and it will expand. And so it was 8. But those 8 people know how many people that they'll talk about it, right? So keep thinking about how can you stay at front of mind for them, because those 8 people have 8 other people and they have 8 other people, and that community grows because they all have the same need, right? Which was the need that you had when you wrote it. So
it's definitely it's a learning opportunity, isn't it? You know, I'm expanding my brain. I've grown a lobe since this started.
Yeah, and I want to drive home too that some of those questions on the slides you presented. I mean, we're writers here, so please go back. I'm going to have this on recording. Write it down. Go journal a little bit. I think it's worth the extra beat to take the time to get, you know, no matter where you're at in your journey right now. So,
Amanda, where is the recording going to be?
I'm going to send it to your email.
Great.
Yeah, I gotcha. Anybody else?
I just want to say that congratulations to all of you on your books, no matter where they are. And having published mine 2 years ago, it's still, the marketing piece is a work in progress. And it was a huge learning curve to write a book. I don't have a writer's background at all. And so the marketing piece is a completely different side of being an author. So I think, you know, like Kylee was saying, give yourself credit for what you've accomplished and just chip away at what you're now going to be embarking upon. Because I thought, oh, just because I'm an author now and it's out in the world, it's gonna run like wildfire, just word of mouth with my friends. And it doesn't. The truth of it is it doesn't. And it's great when people pass the word on, but you do have to continually keep chipping. So what Kylie's saying is pick what you feel is good and natural. Save yourself the time and do that. Don't keep throwing tons and tons of rocks in the water, because yeah, you're going to have ripples, but nobody's going to see it because you're just making splashes at that point, you know. So just like she said, throw some stones in and watch it ripple, and it will grow, and it is slow. Ripples don't happen fast, trust me. And 2 years out, I'm still tossing pebbles in, so be patient.
Yeah, that energy part of it, I was just going to say, like, you know, obviously not only do I show up and ask Kylee to do things because, you know, she's my author, but she has that energy, and I was attracted to that. And I'm thinking back, right, even just for the marketing of My Word Publishing, like I was writing a blog one day, but I chose to write a blog about something I was very passionate about, understanding myself. And I realized when I published that and I put it out there, that was the one blog out of the many I've done that actually got response. So I do think, you know, what is it you're passionate about? Because that is how you're just going to care about it so much more. And then also promote it, because you're like, oh, I was invested. Hey, and everybody's like, oh, what are you so invested in? Let me go check it out. You know, so that point I really love. And I just want to emphasize that. See, I think we have some things in the chat here.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go for it.
So 2 things. Thank you so much, Kylee. I thought it was really great. And it's so interesting because, you know, you teach what you need to learn. And so I wrote a kids mindset book And then it's really like what I need to completely and every day remind myself of and get myself out of all those negative thoughts that we have because we have a brain. So thank you for reminding me again. And then also it's, it really hit me to that about marketing to the right people. Because so you write a nonfiction book and then they say, oh, you teach about what you wrote, you teach everybody because you're giving. And so I thought, oh, I'm going to teach. I mean, I'm here for the parents, not only the kids, but like my parents are my marketing. I'm going to put out a little workshop for kids, but it's really a marketing to the parents. And it was like almost crickets. I had kids at 2 classes and then like the next 3 I had to cancel because it wasn't my people. It's really like schools, teachers, that's where my workshops will really land because they understand that the worth of it. Maybe I asked for too much money, which I didn't think I did, but I was like, oh, it really got me down. So I was thinking, God, it's not about me, or what I'm having to offer. I have to find the right, avenue and the right clientele, so to speak, or people that I need to reach out to. So that was great too. And that's what I'm doing now. I just wrote to Dougco and I sent the letter and my author sheet and the book sheet and the workshop class. So fingers crossed.
Awesome. Good for you.
That, something will happen. But I'm not stopping there. I'm just going to keep going. Thank you.
That's a really good point, Marielle, too, because another children's book author I'm close with, she's been going to so many school visits. And then this one time she did a school visit and it didn't go well because the kids, they were exhausted and just didn't pay attention. We had a whole chat about it because she got down about that one time it didn't go well. And then you just have to ask yourself, well, was it the audience? Was it my approach? So when things don't go well, again, back to Kylie's, I think what you said was like, this is an opportunity to maybe tweak how I went about this. Something's wrong about the talk I gave if nobody asked me to come back, right? All right, so that's okay, but like we have to keep on shifting and get ready to pivot. So anybody else before we head out? All right. Well, you did a fabulous job, Kylee. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone who showed up today. Again, you're our My Word family, and I'm so glad you're here and showed up.